Welcome to the Photo Flunky Show, episode number 62. Today's show, we're going to be talking about candid family photography and how to get some of the shots that you've always wanted, but they seem just a little bit elusive. Welcome, my name's William Beem.
Hi, my name is Lee Beem.
And we're here to talk to you about candid family photography. But before we get into that, let me just let you know that show notes are going to be available at williambeem.com/episode 62. And of course, you can find a transcript of the show there for free. And you can also find links to subscribe either on that page, or you can go to our player at photoflunky.com. You'll find this episode and many more.
Yes.
Yes.
Another 61.
Another 61. And I think there might even be a bonus in there somewhere.
There might be.
There might be a bonus. Also, I want to mention that I've got a free ebook for you. This is about portrait photography, and it is yours for free. Once you get it, you can share it with others. It is called Creative Portraiture, and it's not so much about the technical side of portraiture. It is about the creative and emotional side. So you can get your free copy at williambeem.com/free book. Not free ebooks, only 2 E's.
Yes, not like my name.
No, williambeem.com/free book. All right, why don't we go ahead and get started in our topic for today? And we're talking about candid family photography. And I know, Lee, you've gone through this quite a bit. So tell me what it means to you and just kind of how you've approached it.
Of all the categories of photography, this is the one that has collectively over time been the most meaningful to me. It probably still is. They're not showpiece photos, but they have the most value to me.
These are the ones that you keep to yourself, not necessarily the ones that you're posting, or you might hang them on the wall, but you're not trying to promote them as your kind of art.
That's true. And I mean, these, I guess I refer to them as snapshots for want of a better way to describe them to other people. But it's not just a click and walk away. I do actually put some thought into it. And yeah, there's a little bit more that goes into it. It's just that when I say these are candid photos and not for sharing, they're the type of photos that have a lot of meaning to those who are involved in your life at the time, or, you know, for the event, and really no meaning whatsoever, and of little to no interest to anybody else.
When you're taking, family photos, and we're not talking about someone where you're taking Tove, our daughter, and just saying, okay, stand here, look pretty, we're going to take a portrait of you.
No.
These are in the moment.
These are in the moment. They are specifically unposed shots. They are photos that are taken of something. To use the cliche, I'm literally trying to freeze a moment in time that has some memory to it.
So you're trying to capture a moment when somebody important to you, someone close to you, is doing something. And this could be family, it could be friends, it could be at home, I guess it could be on vacation, it could be anywhere.
A picnic in the park, you might stop somewhere for a break to stretch your legs and have a picnic on the side of the road somewhere, on a long drive. Christmas and birthdays, I think, were the typical things. You want those candid photos, the families gathering around, watching your kid, or maybe you're watching your mom opening a gift that you've put a lot of thought into and you think she's going to love it. And you want to get that moment as she's unwrapping, as she's smiling and going through the process. I usually take a few photos, in the process of unwrapping. And I love having those photos.
These are your memories.
These are my memories.
And that's why they're so important to you.
They really are.
All right. So now here's the question I want to know is how do you strike the balance between being the mom with the camera and enjoying the moment?
You can do both with this. There is always going to be a trade-off if you have a task to do, or if you're trying to achieve something while you're involved or engaged in some kind of activity. It means that you have less ability or restricted ability to engage to your fullest. But for me, it's always been worth the trade-off. So I try, and I don't direct people. I don't try and get someone's attention. I don't tell people to stand here, stand there. I will actually get up and reposition myself. I will move things that might be distractions in the background to the best of my ability. But the whole idea is not to upset the flow of things that are happening at the time.
If you're directing someone, it's really not candid anymore at that point.
Exactly. I want to see things as they happen. I want to capture it as it really is, not the way I've staged it.
Are you anticipating moments, or are you setting things up to where you expect a moment is going to come? Or is it a combination maybe?
It's a combination. And sometimes you are expecting a moment. For example, somebody about to get a surprise or get a gift or about to see something. You can anticipate that, and you just have to be ready for it. There are other times, for example, with my little nephew, when he was little, taking photos of kids, they're on the move the whole time. And I would just get myself in position on the ground somewhere with a camera, and I'd leave him to play. I wouldn't do anything. And eventually he would turn in the right direction, or he would have an expression on his face or do something with his hands. And that's when you hit the shutter. This is a game of patience. This is something where you just sit back and observe. And I think the beauty of it was with a camera, I got to soak in the experience of the moment by sitting and waiting patiently. I wasn't getting frustrated. I just waited. And if the moment was right, I'd hit the shutter.
We were talking a couple of days ago about something that you did on a family vacation with Tove at Walt Disney World. And I know we talk about Disney World almost every show.
Well, that's where my vacations were.
But that's where your vacations were. And we live close by now, so it makes sense. And it was a really hot time when you were on vacation.
Yes.
And Tove was complaining, it's hot.
Yes, there was one week that was just particularly hot and humid. I mean, I was dealing with the fogging up lenses where it would just take about an hour for the camera to acclimate to the temperature outside. There was nothing you could do.
Tove did something, and she did a few things, and you kind of almost made it a theme for that trip.
I did. I made it a theme. I think there was one particular week where the weather was just extremely hot, and she was fanning herself, and she was complaining about the heat and saying, it's too hot, Mom, it's too hot. Like I was supposed to fix it or something. So I figured, well, I'll fix it in a photo album. I started making a point of capturing those moments. Now, these were not the typical family vacation photos where somebody's posing in front of a sign or an icon or on an attraction or a roller coaster. This was where she was like trying to lean in towards the fan to cool off. Where I watched her, I had the camera in my hand, I was scrolling through some pictures to see what I'd got for the day, and she drained her soda, and I just watched her. In the matter of a second, she lifted the cup, and I thought, what is she doing? And there was ice left in the cup, and she just stuck it on top of her head and stood there with ice melting down her head. So I got a photo of that. I mean, that was just how she was handling it. She would be fanning herself, she would be doing all kinds of things, and anything that sort of captured the feeling of this is hot was something that I snapped. And I had some separate pages in a photo book that I made for a family member that was called Hot, Hot, Hot. And all those photos kind of worked together as a group. There was definitely a theme.
So you've got a theme about it. And this is something that was spur of the moment. It wasn't, you couldn't have planned for, well, I guess in Florida, you could plan for it being hot.
Yes. But this was, I mean, we were used to the Florida heat. This was something different.
Her reaction to it surprised you. But it wasn't just a one-off thing. It was enough to give you a theme to work with for the week. Yeah,
it was just the weather did that for the week. And I think the humidity was so intense, which made it feel unbearable to her.
All right, that's a standout example to me. But one of the other things that I've noticed that I try to do when I'm doing Candid is I will find a place and then wait for people to come and interact.
Yes.
It's not necessarily always families that are doing this. In my case, I spend a lot of time living alone, so I always go out taking pictures of strangers. But do you do the same thing with your family members, or do you go to an event, like you said, like it could be a picnic in a park, or it could be a birthday, something like that? Do you look around and find your background first and then wait for people to come, or do you go where the action is?
With the family thing, I would go where the action is, and that's tended to be what I would do. It would be in somebody's home or living room or in their backyard, or we'd go somewhere for the day and pack a picnic. My family was big on picnics. I was maybe not so much, but happy to tag along for some family photos. For me, these candid shots were all about me positioning myself so that I didn't have to direct other people.
Well, let me break in on that a little bit. So you position yourself. That's going to be your angle of view. But also, how do you prepare yourself with your camera? I mean, as far as, are you taking like test shots to make sure that you know that it's going to work when the time comes? Or how do you get in the right spot and prepare yourself so that you get the shot when the moment comes? I
did take test shots. I took test shots for my exposure. Manual exposure for this is going to be hit or miss. So I tended to go with aperture priority, or if there were kids running around, I'd go with shutter priority and just swing it with that and take the best I could. Look, you got to win some and lose some. I got some horrible shots, but I always do. That the line of stepping stones to getting a few nice ones to keep.
Oh, I think that's true. It's like if I look at my photos, I've got tens of thousands of photos, but most of them are ones that I never want to show anybody.
Well, this is true. And these are ones that I shared with my family, and they would get so excited. I mean, to them, this was absolutely wonderful. I could have staged it and had the lighting perfect and done everything correct in terms of photography. My family don't care about the technical side. They want to recognize the people in the photo and go, I remember that. Look how she was smiling. I remember that.
Well, that kind of brings me to the end of it. So you've prepared for it. You've captured the moment. What's the delivery from this?
Right. These photos were never shared outside the family, not because I was hiding them, but because they had no relevance. but they were always shared to everybody within the family or within the group. I would put them together. I would do some sort of quick post-processing. These are not things where you're sitting trying to create a masterpiece, but you'd kind of fix up what you could and, do your basic adjustments. I would usually upload them into a Flickr album, or I would burn them onto CDs. This was going back some time for my parents, who sometimes struggled a little bit with links and figuring out the internet. They loved that because they could take the disc or the flash drive into a photo printing service, plug it in and do prints while you wait. And they loved that. They're from a different generation. They wanted to have the prints in their hand. They wanted their photo albums. And this way they could carry them around in their little brag book and show off to their friends. So it kind of suited the family members who were more digitally
challenged,
competent, and the digitally challenged. It kind of was for everybody. I did sometimes make some photo books. I did that a lot for my sister and brother-in-law when they had their baby, because they were only taking photos with their phones, and they were very good at it. I think they aimed to take at least one photo every day of the baby, which was wonderful. I wish I'd thought of doing that. There were no smartphones with cameras when I had mine. They loved the photo book. And I think for my brother-in-law's parents as well, they live far away from them, so they only get to see their grandson maybe once every 18 months or even longer in between. And I would make photo books and send them to my sister and her husband. They were able to mail them over or ship them over when they were sending other things. And these are things that really mean the world to somebody. It seems like such a simple thing. They're not the greatest photos, but man, this just made people, they were so excited.
I think, though, when you're a photographer and you're trying to make candid family photos like this, you're doing the best you can with the environment that you have. And you're probably going to come up with photos that are going to be better than what anybody else is going to be doing that maybe isn't giving as much thought to photography.
Maybe, but when it comes to something family related, if you sit back and look at it, having a photo or no photo, you don't care. I tried my best to make them as nice as possible, but I also knew that nobody was going to be criticizing. These people were not criticizing as a photographer. They were looking in as family saying, you've just given us a connection to something that we really want to be a part of, and you've made a bridge for us. And
that's an important thing. And I can say that because in my family growing up, we didn't have photos like that. I mean, I think in the early 60s, I was born in 63. My parents might have had an Instamatic or something like that, and they had a few shots. I've got some old photos, but mostly the only time I got a photo was at, school portraits.
Yeah.
And when I got into photography later on, and that was in high school, I started taking some around the family, and I got the same reactions. Like, people were thrilled. And my photos were horrible then. I didn't have any idea of what I was doing. But so long as the family was there and we captured a moment, we had some memories with it. It was really cherished.
But something to keep in mind as well is that as we learn more about the technical and creative aspects of photography, we become very critical of our own work because we want to grow, but we also notice flaws in other people's photos. Regular people who aren't into photography as such don't see it.
And I think that's a very good point. Probably the one that we're going to end on is, like you said, you got a choice between no photos or candid photos. And those photos are your memories. It doesn't have to be a stunning work of art. It's nice if everything works out. I mean, obviously, you still want to pay attention to your composition, your light as best you can, but it is better to get the shot than to not have one.
An act of kindness has never killed me.
Thank you so much for listening to the Photo Flunky Show. As I said at the beginning, show notes are going to be available at williambeem.com/episode 62. And of course, you can find a transcript of the show there for free. We are on iTunes, Google Play Music, Blueberry, Stitcher Radio. Links are going to be available on this episode and at photoflunky.com. We would really encourage you to subscribe, get the show delivered to you for free every time. And finally, don't forget to claim your free copy of Creative Portraiture at williambeem.com/freebook. Thank you very much. We appreciate you, and we'll see you again next week.